this last year, I have doubled my income. I have been to 7 different countries. I have built deeper relationships. I've built a passion project, and I've leveled up pretty much every area of my life, all while working less than the previous year. How? Well, that's what we're going to be breaking down in today's video. How you can have your best year yet. Hello everyone, welcome back. My name is Carys, and this is where we talk about how to elevate your life, unlock your full potential, and become the highest and best version of yourself. Before we continue, make sure you check out the links in the description below. You'll find things like my vlog channel, you'll find my podcast, Highest and Best, and things like my Instagram and all that good stuff. Now, when I reflected over this last year and thought about how I managed to elevate pretty much every area in my life, it really broke down to 4 different things. And so I'm going to be breaking those down for you today, and make sure you stick around because number 4 is actually the most important. At the end of the day, success isn't about working harder, it's about working smarter. Are you ready? Let's talk about it. Chapter 1, we're going to be talking about shifting from goals to habits. Now, over this last year, I really ingrained in my mind about what habits I could form in order to level up. At the start of last year, what I realized was we are often ingrained about having New Year's resolutions. It's the goals that we set, it's the things that we're striving towards, which I believe that you should have. I believe that goals are important. However, habits, those are what are actually more important. Your goals are your what. What is it that you're trying to achieve? But your habits are the how. It's great to say that you want to make $500,000. You want to do this, you want to do that. But how are you actually going to get there? The way that I see it is your goal is like the big thing at the top of the mountain. But if you don't take that first step, you're not going to get there. Over previous years, I got incredibly hung up over what the end result was. But it often was to a fault because the goal seemed too far. The goal seemed too outrageous that when it came to thinking about what I would do on a daily basis, my mind would go blank. So when it comes to goal setting, yes, okay, goals are great. I love them, but think more so in what are the habits that you are going to be building in order to get to the goal. If you haven't already read the book Atomic Habits, highly recommend, swear by that book. One of the key principles is habit stacking. So that is basically where you have a habit that you already do. It's already formed and you want to add in a new habit. And so you take that one and you stack it on one of the ones you've already got. This then allows you to make that new habit formed a lot easier. And so over this last year, because I had these big goals I wanted to achieve, but I knew the actions that I had to do, I created those habits. I began to habit stack as much as possible. And yes, it reflected in quite a firm, strict schedule that I created. However, it allowed me to take everything to the next level because I was incredibly consistent because of these habits. So what I want you to do in this section is think about what goals you have for this year. And then I want you to think about what are the daily habits that I need to be doing? What are the actions that I have to be doing every single week in order to get to that goal? And then begin to add them into your schedule, into your calendar to ensure that you actually are going to reach those big goals and keep a track of them. Personally, I use the Notes app on my phone. I have my daily habits all listed out, all ready to go on my phone. There are also apps that you can use to track your habits, or if you're more a traditional person, then you can create something like a chart, get it printed out, get it laminated, and just check off your boxes every single day. Do something to track your progress to ensure that you're being consistent. There are multiple habits I implemented over this last year that I know contributed towards the success that I had. Chapter number 2, we are talking about doubling down on your strengths. And this is something that I feel like can be controversial because you hear some people say that you should be improving your weaknesses and you should be building on the things you're not good at. And I do see that side of it. I do think that we need to do things that make us uncomfortable. We do need to improve in those certain areas. But one of the biggest shifts that personally I made, and I know many other people have, is that they double down on their strengths. For me, one of my biggest strengths is content creation. It is making videos that are powerful, that are engaging. And so I not only do this for social media for my own personal brand, but I also do it for other businesses. I also create videos for other brands. And so I knew that that was a strength of mine. And so I doubled down on it, and it made a huge impact in my life. And then when you think about your weaknesses, instead of trying to make them less weak, can you hire them out? Can you outsource? Can you delegate? Can you automate? Or can you just eliminate them out of your calendar? Look at the things that you are doing and figure out how you can cut the fluff out. How you can cut out the things that aren't helping you move the needle in your life. The way that I see it is that if it's not bringing you profit, purpose, or peace, get rid of it. What's crazy for me to think about too is that over this last year, I spent the first half of the year grinding hard. I was working nonstop. I was building everything to the max because I got married in July. And so the second half of the year, I was working half the amount. I had my whole wedding month of July where I went on trips. I had my family here from Europe. And then me and my husband got back to work for another month. And then we went to Europe for a month for our honeymoon. And then we were back for a month. And then I went back to Europe. And so the second half of last year, it was a lot more chilled out. But that is because when I was working half the amount in the second half of the year, I focused on the things that were moving the needle in my life. I trimmed the fat in my schedule to ensure that any time that I spent working was spent on income producing activities. You have to plan for it, you have to create systems, and you have to give yourself a little bit of grace too. Chapter number 3 is called The Power of the Pivot. Now, if you are an OG on my channel, you may have noticed that my content has kind of shifted over this last year. And that is because there was a pivot. And this is something that you may find happens in your life. And it tends to happen more than you'd think. The thing is that many goals that we tend to set tend to change. They tend to adapt. They tend to evolve. And so for me personally, over this last year, I understand the power of the pivot because at the start of my year, the goals that I had set were completely irrelevant to what I actually ended up doing throughout that year. Because there were many pivots throughout the year. Things change, opportunities don't pan out the way you expected them to, doors don't open, the ones that you were hoping for, or sometimes you may lose passion for something that you thought you would love forever. It happens. We as humans adapt and we evolve and we change and we grow and we build, and you have to be open to pivoting. The thing is, just because you spent time, months, years, maybe decades doing something in your life, if you feel like it's not bringing you peace and purpose and fulfillment anymore, it is okay to move on to something new. It is okay to pivot and change and do something else. If it's a business that you may have started and you spent 6 months planning it and building it, if it doesn't work out, it's okay. You can pivot. There's this thing that we called sunken time, and it's basically where you have invested so much time into a specific thing. It could be into a person, into a business opportunity, into a career, into a skill that you're learning. And the sunken time is basically where you feel like you are forcing yourself to continue pursuing it because of the time that you've invested in it. Just because you spent time, if it's not serving you, you don't need to continue doing it. Now, when you are feeling like something is pivoting, something's changing, God's moving you in a certain direction, you need to become extremely self-aware. You need to be looking at things from an outside perspective to see where he is moving you. What doors is he opening? What doors is he not opening that you may be hoping would open, but they're not opening for a reason? You need to be self-aware with what's happening around you. God wants what is best for you in your life. He wants great things. He wants things that will surpass what you can even think of. And so if you are too tunnel vision focused on the things that you're doing because of the sunken time, that you don't look up to see the opportunities that God is pushing you to, then you're not going to be living up to your full potential. Something that you can do that will help with the power of the pivot is to understand detachment. Now, I have a full video on this. I will leave it linked in the description below. But in its summary, detachment is removing expectations and attachment to situations, to things, and to outcomes. When you're overly attached to something, you feel like it's a part of your identity, it is very hard to be flexible and be open to a pivot. So over this last year, I said, okay, God, I'm here. whatever it is that you think that I should be doing, whichever direction that you feel like I should be going in, the people that I need to be serving, whatever it is, I'm here. I want you to lead me into the direction that you want me to, that will fulfill the calling on my life. And so being able to open your arms up and say, okay, I'm here. Whatever it is you want me to do, I'll do it. Your life will change. Your life will elevate. Everything that you'll start doing will have fulfillment. It will feel purposeful compared to the things that you may be doing now that might be actually forced. So as you're going throughout this year, be aware, analyze, and adjust where needed. Now this leads me perfectly into chapter number 4, which is letting God lead. Now this may be last on my list, but it is the most important, and it genuinely was a game changer in my life, especially over these last 12 months. Now in case you didn't know, I am a type A personality, which means I like to control everything. I like to plan everything. And so for me, this was a very big shift. When you're type A, it is hard to let control go. Being type A, it means that you like to control everything. It means that you like to be the one who manages it, who directs this, who does that. And so in order to actually let God lead, you have to release that. You have to let go of control. And when I say this has been a progress that has taken a lot of practice, I mean it. But I tell you what, when I did, everything changed. Doors began to open that I didn't even know existed, and doors that I was praying that would open that didn't. Now I understand why, and I am glad that they stayed shut. As you're going throughout your year, if you feel like things aren't going your way, you just have to understand that there's things that are better in store for you. One of the biggest shifts that I made over this last year is I began studying my Bible. Now, over the years, I've read my Bible, but I never actually studied it. I began to sit down on a daily basis. I got a study Bible that has margins, I can write notes, and I began to actually go through every single day and study my Bible, and not only read it, but began to dissect and apply things to my life now. A lot of people see the Bible as a history book, but that is not what it is. It is a guide that you can use in your daily life, but you have to take time and study it and read it and dissect all the words and what they mean and how you can implement them into your life today. Another thing that I started doing actually with my husband is when we bless the day in the morning, it's our morning prayer, we say to God, we invite you in. We say, be involved in everything that we are doing. We want to put you first in all that we do today. And so by inviting him in and saying that you want him to be involved in your daily life, it will allow you to go through in your day and actually put him first. When you are releasing control and letting God lead in your life, you have to learn to be obedient to his callings, even when they don't make sense to you right now. We should not be leaning on our own understanding. You have to be able to trust in his plan, trust in what he's pushing you to, trust in what he's moving away from you, because it's not about our goals that we have. It's about the purpose that he has for our life. All right, I hope you enjoyed this video, and these 4 things can help you have your most successful year yet. Whatever your one takeaway is, something that you are going to do starting today, drop it down in the comments below. I would love to see. And if you enjoyed this video, then you will definitely enjoy this one next. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.